My husband's wallet fell out of his pocket. Inside was a receipt for a hotel I had never been to. My stomach dropped as I checked the date. It was the same weekend he told me he was fishing with friends. That night, I whispered, "How was the fishing trip?" He smirked, until I pulled out the receipt. His hand started shaking, because he knew. The lies were over. I've always believed that trust is the cornerstone of any marriage. My husband, Marco, and I had been together for 15 years. We met during college at the University of the Philippines in Diliman, and after graduation, we decided to settle in Butuan, where I was born and raised. Marco worked as a civil engineer, often traveling for projects across Mindanao, while I managed a small bakery in the city. Our life was simple but fulfilling. We had 2 children, aged 10 and 7, and our routine was predictable. Marco would often go on weekend fishing trips with his college friends, and I never questioned it. He deserved his breaks, and I trusted him completely. But everything changed one Monday morning. As I was doing laundry, I noticed Marco's jeans crumpled in the corner of our bedroom. I picked them up, and as I was about to toss them into the washing machine, something fell out of the pocket. It was a receipt from a hotel in Cagayan de Oro. Curious, I picked it up and read the details: hotel name, Golden Haven Suites, date, Saturday and Sunday of the previous weekend, room, deluxe suite guests. My heart sank. Marco had told me he was on a fishing trip in Surigao with his friends that weekend. Cagayan de Oro was nowhere near Surigao. I felt a wave of nausea. I sat down, clutching the receipt, trying to make sense of it. Was it a mistake? Did he book it for someone else? But why would he have the receipt? I decided not to confront him immediately. I needed more information. That evening, as we sat down for dinner, I tried to act normal. The kids were chatting about their day, and Marco was his usual self, laughing and engaging with them. After putting the kids to bed, we sat in the living room. I turned to him and asked, "How was the fishing trip?" He smiled. "It was great. Caught a big one this time." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the receipt. His smile faded instantly. His hands began to tremble as he took the receipt from me. "Care to explain this?" I asked, my voice cold. He stammered, "It's not what you think." "Then what is it, Marco? You told me you were in Surigao, but this says Cagayan de Oro. Who were you with?" He looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Over the next hour, Marco confessed. He had been seeing a woman named Lara, a colleague from his recent project in Cagayan de Oro. Their affair had been going on for 6 months. The fishing trips were weekends spent with her. I was devastated. The man I had trusted, the father of my children, had been living a double life. I asked Marco to leave the house that night. He didn't argue. He just quietly packed a bag and walked out the door. No drama. No shouting. Just silence. That kind of silence that wraps around you and crushes your chest like a vice. I told the kids that Papa had to go away for a few days for work. They didn't question it. They were used to him being gone on weekends. But they missed him during bedtime. My youngest asked, "Mama, did Papa forget to say goodnight?" I smiled weakly and nodded. I couldn't even answer without breaking. I barely slept for the next week. I kept staring at the ceiling, asking myself, why? We weren't perfect, but I thought we were okay. I kept replaying things he said, little lies I ignored, the way he sometimes acted distant, the weird times he suddenly started locking his phone. And then, like fate wanted to really crush me, I found more. I went into our shared email account to look for a receipt I needed for our daughter's school enrollment. That's when I saw it, an archived folder called Invoices. Marco never archived anything. I opened it. There were over a dozen hotel booking confirmations. Different hotels. Different cities. All the way back to November last year. Each one booked under his name, always a weekend, always for 2 guests. I clicked one from January, Cebu. I remembered that weekend. I had the flu, and Marco said he was visiting a site in Bukidnon. But no, he was in a beachfront hotel in Cebu. I checked the location. It had a spa and a romantic ocean view package. I thought I couldn't cry anymore, but I was wrong. I screenshotted everything. I didn't message him. I didn't scream. I sat in the living room, just staring at the TV with the volume on mute. 2 days later, Laura messaged me. I didn't even know she had my number. Her message was short, "I didn't know he was still with you. He told me you separated last year. I'm sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. My hands were shaking. I wanted to scream, to throw my phone across the room. But I didn't. Instead, I wrote back, "He lives here. With me. Our kids. You didn't know?" Her reply came fast. "No. I swear. He told me you kicked him out a year ago. Said you were toxic and jealous and you made his life hell. That he was just seeing the kids. Toxic. Jealous. That's what he told her about me. After everything." She sent me screenshots. Texts from him. Voice messages. A selfie of the two of them at the mall, smiling, looking like a happy couple. He told her he loved her. That he was glad to be free. I felt sick. The worst part? She was telling the truth. She looked as blindsided as I felt. I confronted Marco again. I called him and said, "Come here. We need to talk." He arrived after 8 p.m. He looked tired. Guilty. I showed him the messages. The screenshots. I said, "She thought you were divorced." He sat down, rubbed his eyes, and whispered, "I didn't want to lose her." That's when I lost it. You didn't want to lose her? What about your kids? What about me? He just kept apologizing, but it was empty. Like he was rehearsing. Like he'd practiced this already. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," he said. Then came the real bomb. "I'm in love with her." My legs almost gave out. I sat down because I thought I might fall over. He continued, "I didn't plan this. It just happened. But I love her now." I stared at him, and all I could think was, how did we get here? The next day, while I was at the bakery, a woman walked in and asked for me. She looked older, around 50s. Well-dressed. Calm but serious. "I'm Lara's mother," she said. I nodded slowly, unsure of where this was going. "I know everything now. About your husband. About Lara. I just wanted to say, I raised my daughter to have integrity. I didn't know what she was doing. And I've told her to leave him. I didn't expect that. I thought she was coming to defend her daughter, maybe even shame me. She's moved out. She's not answering his calls." I blinked. "She's leaving for Manila next week to stay with her sister," she said. "I just thought you should know. I'm sorry this happened." We stood there in silence for a few seconds. I said thank you. That was all I could say. Marco started calling again. Texting. Saying Lara was gone and he wanted to fix our marriage. I haven't responded. I don't know what I'll do yet. But the truth? I'm tired. I'm angry. I feel betrayed by the one person I trusted the most. And now I have 2 kids asking why Papa isn't home. This story isn't over. Not yet. I was holding it together, barely. Running the bakery, keeping the kids on their routine, pretending like things were okay in front of my parents. I didn't want them to worry. They had enough on their plate with my dad recovering from a mild stroke. Marco, meanwhile, started texting daily. He sent messages like, "I miss the kids. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Lara's gone. I realize now I made a mistake." But here's the thing, Marco doesn't do guilt. Not unless he's caught. I didn't respond. I wanted space. I needed to think clearly. And then came the twist I never saw coming. Lara texted again. Her message simply read, "I just found out I'm pregnant." I stared at the screen for minutes. I didn't feel anything at first. It was like my brain couldn't register it. But slowly, that numbness turned into heat crawling up my neck, a shaking in my hands. She followed up with, "I thought you should know. I don't expect anything from you. I just need to figure this out. From me. Not Marco." She was talking to me like we were co-victims in this. Maybe we were. Maybe we weren't. I didn't reply. Instead, I sat on my bed and cried harder than I had in months. The next morning, Marco showed up at the house. He knocked. The kids ran to the door, shouting, "Papa." He hugged them, kissed their heads, and looked up at me. I didn't say a word. I just motioned for him to follow me into the kitchen while the kids watched TV. "I need to talk to you," he said. I cut him off. "Is Lara pregnant?" He froze. The silence between us felt like glass about to shatter. He opened his mouth but didn't say anything at first. Yes. She told me last night." I leaned on the counter, trying not to scream. "What do you want, Marco? Seriously. What do you want?" "I don't know," he said. "I'm confused. I don't love her, not anymore. I love you. I want our family." My laugh was bitter and sharp. "You loved her enough to make a child with her." A week later, I received a message from a lawyer. Marco had filed a petition to get partial custody of the kids. That broke me. Not because he wanted to see them, I wasn't stopping him, but because he went behind my back and filed legal papers. Like I was the enemy. I called him. "Why would you do that?" "I don't trust that you'll let me see them if things get ugly," he said. I was stunned. "You blew up this marriage, and now you're trying to play victim?" He had nothing to say. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, one of Marco's coworkers stopped by the bakery on a slow afternoon. He was a quiet guy, Paul. I only met him once at a company Christmas party. He looked nervous. He asked if we could talk privately. "I feel like you deserve to know something," he said. "Marco, this wasn't just Lara." I froze. "What do you mean?" He's had other women. One in Davao. One in Samboanga. Small flings during project stints. People talk. He brags about it sometimes when he drinks." I couldn't breathe. Paul looked ashamed. "I didn't know it was this serious until now. I'm sorry. I thought you should know." He left. I stood in the kitchen, shaking. This wasn't one affair. This wasn't one mistake. Marco had made a life out of lying. Here's the craziest part. A week later, I reconnected with an old college friend, Luis. He used to be my thesis partner. We hadn't spoken in years. He had seen the bakery's Facebook page and messaged me to ask about ordering some pastries for a friend's birthday. It started as casual chatting. Then it became daily conversations. He was kind. Funny. Asked how I was doing. Listened without judgment. He told me he'd gone through a divorce 2 years ago. Said he knew what it felt like to rebuild from ashes. And for the first time in months, I smiled without forcing it. Luis and I kept talking. It wasn't romantic, not at first. It was just comfort. He listened when I needed to vent. He asked questions nobody else did. Like, "Are you okay?" Not, "What are you going to do about Marco?" Not, "What will happen to the kids?" Just me. For once, someone asked about me. Meanwhile, Marco kept pushing. He would show up without warning, bring toys for the kids, act like nothing happened. He kept asking if we could talk. I kept telling him to speak to my lawyer. Then one night, everything exploded. It was my son's school event, recognition day. Both parents were invited. I hadn't seen Marco in weeks except through text. I didn't know if he would show up. But he did. And he didn't come alone. He brought Lara. Pregnant. She was showing. And she looked uncomfortable, probably because of the stairs. Small-town schools are full of whispering parents and sharp eyes. I was standing by the classroom door when I saw them walk in. Marco waved at me like we were co-parents who got along. Lara didn't even make eye contact. I lost it. I walked straight up to them. "You brought her here?" I asked, loud enough that people around us paused their conversations. Marco stepped forward. "She just came to support." "Support what? The kid you abandoned? The marriage you destroyed? The wife you lied to?" Lara muttered, "I didn't know it would upset you this much." Of course you didn't. You didn't know because you didn't care. Just like him." Marco pulled me aside. "Let's not do this here." "Why not?" "You didn't care where you did it when you were cheating across half of Mindanao. People were watching. Teachers. Parents. My son peeked out of his classroom and saw us. His face fell. And that's when I broke. I turned to Marco and shouted, "I hope you're proud. Because this moment, is exactly what your son will remember when he thinks of his father." Marco's face went pale. Lara grabbed his arm, trying to pull him away, but he stood frozen. I walked out. Luis was waiting in the car. He was supposed to just pick me up later, but I texted him during the event to come early. I sat beside him and cried the entire ride home. That night, Marco tried calling. I didn't answer. Then his mother called. I almost didn't pick up. But she's the only one from his side who ever treated me with real kindness. She said, "I'm so sorry, Hija. I didn't raise him to do this. If you need anything, for the kids, just tell me. He may be their father, but I will never excuse what he did." Even his own family knew. The next few days were heavy. My son was quiet. I finally sat him down and told him, as gently as I could, "Papa and I had a big argument. We both made mistakes. But you and your sister, you're not one of them. You're the best thing that ever happened to us." He nodded. Then asked, "Is he going to live with the other baby now?" I had no answer. Marco texted again. He said he was sorry. That he brought Lara to the school because she pressured him. That he didn't expect me to react that way. That he felt cornered. I didn't reply. Because that was the problem. He always made himself the victim. Always cornered. Always pressured. Never responsible. 2 weeks later, we sat across from each other in a lawyer's office. Formal custody hearing. Paperwork. Cold voices reading legal terms like visitation and joint parental responsibility. He tried to joke. I didn't laugh. Before leaving, I said one thing: "I don't care what happens between you and Lara. But you don't get to parade her into our kids' lives like nothing happened. You earn their trust back. Slowly. With time. Or you'll lose them too." He nodded. For once, he didn't argue. Luis and I still talk. He's been a rock, but I'm not rushing anything. I need to know who I am without Marco. The kids are healing. Slowly. My daughter drew a picture of our family the other day. Just the 3 of us. No papa. I didn't correct her. The bakery's doing well. We added new menu items. I'm saving up for new equipment. The work keeps me grounded. Sometimes I still cry. Sometimes I still wonder if I could have done more. But mostly, I remind myself, I survived. I loved a man who broke me, and I still got back up. I'm not sure what the future holds. Maybe I'll love again. Maybe I won't. But I'll never love anyone more than I've learned to love myself. And that's enough. For now.